go ahead and get started. So my name is Kim Anderson. I'm the Director of Member Mobilization here at EEN, and I focus on what the western half of Pennsylvania. So if you're in the western half of Pennsylvania, I would be your best contact. And then I also focus on other responsibilities here at EEN. And then not with me today because of a family emergency is Carolyn Heckman, and she focuses on the eastern half of Pennsylvania and on policy. So she's the Pennsylvania Policy and Outreach Coordinator. So if you're on the eastern half of Pennsylvania or you have questions that I'm not able to answer today, we can follow up with Carolyn because she's the policy expert. So we just wanted to give a lay of the land of different policies that are out there in our Commonwealth that are impacting us as residents, or or have the potential to have an impact on us in the state of Pennsylvania. So first we have, if you can go to the next slide, we have the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, or RGGI for short. Basically, it's a regional program which all states in the region, which you can kind of see on that little map in the middle of the slide, all states in the region except for Pennsylvania are benefiting from. RGGI basically puts a limit on carbon pollution from electric power plants and allows the revenue. So if companies go over that, then they have a fee, and it allows that revenue to be reinvested back into Pennsylvania. So we started being a part of RGGI in 2019 by an executive order from Governor Wolf. In 2022, we had gone through all the loops and hoops and officially joined, but soon after that, we had a lot of lawsuits that came up in the Commonwealth. And in 2023, the Pennsylvania Commonwealth Court ruled against RGGI, and Governor Shapiro appealed that decision. Now we wait for the Pennsylvania Supreme Court to hear further case and make ruling. So we're kind of in a holding pattern where we're officially a part of it, but we're not benefiting from it. In that time period, it's estimated we've been waiting to benefit from $6.3 billion in estimated health savings by 2030, an estimated reduction in about 30,000 hospital visits from things like asthma and other respiratory illnesses, and $1.6 billion in lost revenue since 2022 that could have been reinvested back into the Commonwealth, into good programs that could have really helped Pennsylvanians. It's also estimated that RGGI would create about 30,000 family-sustaining jobs, and it would boost and stimulate economic recovery in our Commonwealth. The next thing that I want to talk about is AEPS, or the Alternative Energy Portfolio Standard. Basically, what this does is breaks types of energy into tiers, and then puts says that we need to, if, out of the 100% of the portfolio, we need to have this much needs to be from clean energy, et cetera. So basically, we had an alternative energy portfolio standard, which expired in 2021. It included 18% retail electric from alternative sources by 2021. So basically kind of sets a goal in the future. We would have to get to 18% of alternative energy by 2021, which we did. And that was broken into tiers. We had tier 1, which was solar, wind, hydropower, and that could come from anywhere in our PJM territory. And basically PJM is the part of the grid that we're a part of. And then it would also include a 0.5% solar carve out, and community solar is not currently permitted, which is something we'll talk about in a couple of minutes. And then it also had a tier for large-scale hydropower, waste coal, energy efficiency, and things like that. Some people call tier 3 the dirty tier. It's not always, not everything in there is dirty, but things like waste coal, still have a lot of emissions and can have negative health impacts. So if you look at the map on the slide, you can see that compared to our neighbors, our alternative energy portfolio standard is really low. Our goal of 18% by 2021 is really low compared to the states around us. And again, it's expired. So right now we don't have a standard that we have to meet. So that's where the governor's 2024 energy plan comes into place. And this is broken into two pieces. So first we have, if you can go to the next slide, we have Pennsylvania Renewable Energy Sustainability Standard, or PRESS for short. So that's the first part of this plan. And basically this expands the AEPS and it has different tiers. So first you've got tier 1, which is clean energy, renewable sources. And this would expand that that goal from 8 to 35%. And it includes things like solar, wind, hydropower, geothermal, etc. And then tier two is 10%, includes things like hydropower, biomass, fuel cells, and things like that. And then the third tier has waste coal, municipal solid waste, and things like that. So tier one alone would expand from 8 to 35. So we would see an increase in the clean energy that we were taking a part in the Commonwealth. On the next slide, we have the Pennsylvania Climate Emission Reduction or PACER Act. And this is the other part of PACER or the governor's plan. And basically, it's a Pennsylvania specific cap and invest program. Well, Reggie is a regional cap and invest program. Pennsylvania is, or PACER is specific to Pennsylvania. So it allows Pennsylvania to set its own cap and not have to be a part of a regional cap. And then it takes that money and Pennsylvania can choose how the money would be reinvested back into the Commonwealth, and it would be invested directly into lowering customers' electricity bills. So together, if we look at the next slide, the Press and Pace are a dynamic duo. Together, they're set to benefit Pennsylvanians greatly. A recent study showed that there would be a savings on utility bills, that the average household would save about $329 between 2025 and 2032, that it would generate 17,500 new jobs each year, which would be cumulatively 278,000 jobs between 2025 and 2042. It would also lead to a significant reduction in greenhouse gas emissions, 224 million tons of reduced carbon dioxide, 550 or 55,750 tons of nitrogen dioxide, and 42,000 tons of sulfur dioxide reduced. So that could have a huge positive health impact on the health of Pennsylvanians. And then it would also increase the federal clean energy investments that would come into Pennsylvania to 5.7 billion by 2032. That's 50% more than if we take no action in these ways. So we would have a significant benefit in the federal funds that we can access as well. The next topic that I want to talk about is PETA, or the Pennsylvania Energy Development Authority. And basically, this is an independent public funding authority. It's staffed by the Energy Programs Office, which is a part of the Department of Environmental Protection. House Bill 2338 would clarify PETA's mission, would kind of bring it up to date. It would direct PETA to apply for and receive tax credits that are available through the Inflation Reduction Act. So again, it would allow us to access more federal money that's available. We would be able to access $550 billion from the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act and $783 billion from the Inflation Reduction Act. And then it estimates that the authority would be terminated by 2032. Next, we have community solar, which I mentioned earlier. So community solar is currently not available in the state of Pennsylvania, but basically what community solar does is it gives people access to solar that might not have access to it for other reasons. One, like me, it's expensive to put solar on your roof, and it takes a big upfront investment. Also, people that are renters, can't necessarily put it on their roof because they need permission from their landlord, and that's a big investment. And then they might have a shaded roof or various other reasons why they can't put solar on their own roof. So this allows a community to come together. It's a local solar that's shared by subscribers, and the subscribers receive a credit on their bills for their share of power that is produced. It's basically the way it works. If you can go to the next slide. Electricity is generated from sunlight and it flows to the grid. That energy can be sold to the local power utility from the community solar that shares it. Then the subscribers would pay for the electricity generated. Then they receive a portion of the value generated as a credit. And so, basically it's, they're allowed to share it, and then, they get credits on their bill. And then, they can apply that later in seasons where, maybe there hasn't been as much sunshine and things like that. So community solar is a wonderful program that allows people that can't get access to solar for other reasons to have access to solar. It's not currently allowed in Pennsylvania, but it is proposed through House Bill 1842, and it is an exciting program. And then the last topic or one of the last topics I wanted to talk about is methane in the state of Pennsylvania. So methane is the primary component of natural gas, and in the state of or the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, our natural gas production reached a record of 7.6 trillion cubic feet in 2021. Pennsylvania is the nation's second largest natural gas producer after Texas. And the methane that we do generate in the state of Pennsylvania meets Pennsylvania and regional heat demand. So it is important. So we're not saying let's not have any more methane. We're saying let's just do it in a way that is less impactful on people's health. There are serious health impacts from methane. The oil and gas industry is the leading industrial source of methane pollution. And medical research shows serious health consequences from living within a half a mile of an oil and gas production facility. And additional research shows that that impact can be up to 5 to 10 miles away. It's something that's near and dear to my heart because I've cared for parents and grandparents that have had dementia. The closer people age 65 and older live to wells had an early death risk of 2.5% higher when compared to people who do not live close to wells. So this can really have an impact on the entire lifespan and on our health from womb to tomb. So how does this um, how does this come into play with Pennsylvania? So basically, the Environmental Protection Agency on the federal level has proposed a new supplemental methane rule. And once that rule is published, the Department of Environmental Protection in Pennsylvania has 2 years to look at what's proposed and figure out how they're going to make that work for Pennsylvania. That's called a state implementation plan. So the rule was proposed officially earlier this year. So the clock is ticking for Pennsylvania to come up with how they will meet that through a state implementation plan. And then they have an additional year to put their plan into place. So the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is already starting to work on this, and we would like to encourage them to come up with a strong plan and also to ensure that the plan is put into place as soon as possible. So there is an action alert that we're going to put in the chat that you can fill out to send a note to the Department of Environmental Protection asking them to put a strong state implementation plan into place for methane as soon as possible. The last policy that I wanted to talk about is a recent success in the Commonwealth, and that is House Bill 1032, which is also known as Solar for Schools. And so basically, this would issue grants to school districts, intermediate units, career and technical schools, and community colleges across the Commonwealth to fund solar energy projects. Schools spend a lot of money on energy, and if they could reduce the amount of money that they spend on energy, that money could be redirected towards investing directly into things students need, into teachers, into new textbooks, and into infrastructure and all kinds of things. So basically what Solar for Schools does is it combines money from the state with some federal money that's already available and significantly reduces the cost of schools adding solar. So the Pennsylvania School Grants Program, which was a part of this bill, would reduce or would take care of 50% of the cost of project construction. Federal money from the Inflation Reduction Act would cover 30 to 50% of remaining installation costs. And that range depends on where the school is located, if it's in a former coal mining area or an area that's disadvantaged. Otherwise, if the solar panels are made in the United States, you're allowed to get more money. So schools can get 30 to 50% of installation costs from the federal money, and then that leaves only 0 to 20% that school districts have to put up for operation and maintenance costs. And of course, like we mentioned earlier, the big part of the big cost of going solar is the upfront installation costs. And so this greatly reduces the amount of money that schools have to spend on project construction, and then it allows them to take the money that they'll have reduced energy bills for 25, 30, maybe even more years, and they can redirect that money into things that are more important to their school districts. So House Bill 1032 has passed both the House and the Senate and has received appropriations from the state. And so we're looking forward to seeing how that is going to move forward. And I'm excited to say that my school district is one that has considered this, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we do with the money. If if the board votes on it and things like that, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in the future and how they use that money that is saved. So next, real quick, I want to talk about some ways that you can get engaged, and then we can open it up for some discussion. So first of all, uh, ways that you can get engaged is to sign in an action alert. We put a couple of them in the chat. Um, and a couple that I want to mention is no drill zones. In our Commonwealth, currently, um, you know, there are schools and houses that are really close to fracking well pads and other oil and gas infrastructure. And this asks the governor's office. When Governor Shapiro was the attorney general, he did a study that talked about the health benefits of increasing the zone and making it giving a bigger buffer for where fracking well pads can be drilled in proximity to houses and schools and things like that. And then the second one is FEMSA, which is the a pipeline act. And that's a federal rule that's proposed by the Department of Transportation to reduce leaks through pipelines that most of us live near in one way or another. Um, Also, if you're interested, you can write a letter to the editor or an op-ed. We have a recording of a webinar from a couple of months ago that you can attend, or you can reach out to Carolyn and I. And if you are interested in writing one about Pennsylvania or even on a federal level, we're here to help you with that and help you get those published as well. You can also start a book club or a small group. We have a lot of tools on our website that our wonderful communications team have put together to make that easier for you. So if you want to build awareness and help other Christians around you understand why you care about creation care, that is a thing that you can do. You can also join a local hub. We currently have a hub in Philadelphia, but are looking to bring people together that care about creation care locally for regular meetings in other parts of the state as well. So if you are in Western Pennsylvania, you can reach out to me at kim@creationcare.org. And if you're in Eastern Pennsylvania, you can reach out to Carolyn@creationcare.org. And then finally, you can meet with your representatives. This is a bigger lift, but we're hoping this fall to be able to take some people to Harrisburg to meet with their policymakers and to discuss some of these issues and just educate policymakers on some of the things that are important to us and to talk about how we care about children's health and how all of these issues are closely related to that. So if you're interested in that, you can also reach out to Carolyn and I, and we will get together with you and let you know when we're planning that.